Eleanor Murphy wiped the dust off her hands and squinted at the narrow passage they had just discovered. After 3 weeks of careful excavations beneath Stonehenge, his team finally managed to reach a chamber that shouldn't exist. "Give me the light, please," she said to the assistant. The small, powerful flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing smooth walls that looked nothing like the rest of the ancient structure. Eleanor had been an archaeologist for 15 years, but had never seen anything like it. The walls were too perfect, too smooth. Stonehenge was over 5,000 years old, but this hidden chamber looked almost modern. "Dr. Murphy, should we wait for the rest of the team?" his assistant asked. Eleanor shook her head. "I'll take a quick look." She stepped through the narrow opening, her heart beating faster with each step. The beam of his flashlight swept across the small room, stopping suddenly on an object in the center. It stood on a simple stone pedestal, about the size of a basketball. Eleanor approached, careful not to touch anything. The object was metallic, but unlike any metal she had ever seen before, it was not rusted or damaged. It seemed to glow slightly, even in the darkness. Strange symbols covered its surface, flowing in patterns that somehow seemed familiar yet completely foreign. Eleanor took photos with her cell phone, circling the object carefully. When she got very close, she felt a strange vibration in the air. The object emitted a soft hum, so low she almost didn't notice it. "Dr. Murphy, are you okay there?" his assistant called from the hallway. "I'm fine," she replied, without taking her eyes off the object. "But you need to call the university immediately. Tell them we found something unusual." Within hours, the site was buzzing with activity. Security personnel kept curious tourists away while Eleanor's colleagues set up equipment around the chamber. "The dating can't be right," said Professor Alan Davis, looking at his tablet. "We have already run the tests 3 times. Eleanor looked up from her notes. "What's wrong with the results?" "This chamber is definitely part of the original structure of Stonehenge, which is at least 5,000 years old. But the object itself," he paused, "dates to only about 300 years ago, early 1700s. "That's impossible," said Eleanor. "No one has disturbed this chamber in thousands of years. How could something from the 18th century be in there?" As the team discussed the test results, Eleanor noticed that her phone had no signal despite the amplifier they had set up. Other electronic equipment was also acting strangely. Batteries discharged quickly, and some instruments gave inconsistent readings. "We need someone who can understand these symbols," Eleanor said. Looking at her photos, she knew exactly who to call. 2 days later, Dr. Samuel Wright arrived on the scene. Samuel was a linguistics expert specializing in ancient symbols and writing systems. He had worked with Eleanor on 3 previous excavations. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," Samuel said, studying the symbols carefully. "They are not random. This is definitely some kind of language recoding, but it doesn't correspond to any known ancient writing system." Later that night, while most of the team slept in nearby research tents, Eleanor and Samuel continued to work. They created a 3D scan of the object, but were careful not to move it from the pedestal. "Look at this," Samuel said suddenly. "These patterns repeat in specific sequences, almost like what?" asked Eleanor, as if it were an instruction, he said, or a warning. At that moment, all of his equipment shut down at once. The lights went out, plunging them into darkness. Even battery-powered backups failed. "What happened?" Samuel whispered. Before Eleanor could respond, their phones rang simultaneously. Both received the same message from an unknown number. "You found the Sentinel. They know you're awake now. You are in danger. Meet me at Wiltshire Museum tomorrow at 9 a.m. Come along. The fate of humanity depends on it." Eleanor looked at Samuel, her face pale in the dim light of the phones. "What did we discover?" she whispered. Eleanor and Samuel arrived at the Wiltshire Museum 15 minutes early. The morning air was cool and few people were around. They sat on a bench near the entrance, watching everyone who approached. "This may be nothing," said Samuel. "Maybe someone is playing a trick on us." Eleanor shook her head. "This object is real and the test results make no sense. Something strange is happening." At exactly 9 a.m., an elderly woman with gray hair walked towards them. She wore simple clothes and carried a worn leather bag. Nothing about her seemed unusual, but Eleanor felt a strange certainty that this was their mysterious contact. "Dr. Murphy, Dr. Wright," the woman said calmly, "thank you for coming. My name is Catherine Bennett." "How do you know who we are?" Samuel asked. Katerina smiled. We've been watching you for some time. Please walk with me. They followed her to the museum, but instead of stopping at some exhibit, Catherine took them to a small storage room in the back. She pulled out an old key and unlocked the door. Inside was a small table with 3 chairs. On the table were several old books and a wooden box. Please sit down, said Catherine, locking the door behind them. Who are you? Eleanor asked. And what do you know about the object we found? I represent the Guardians, said Catherine. We are a secret society that has existed since 1742. Our purpose is to protect humanity from a threat that most people don't know exists. She opened one of the books, showing them pages of handwritten notes and detailed drawings. The one you found is called Sentinel. It was created by humans, but with technology far beyond what should have been possible centuries ago. Samuel looked skeptical. This is hard to believe. Catherine nodded. I understand your doubt, but the truth is that the sentry is a weapon, the last defense against visitors from another world. Eleanor studied the ancient book. The drawings clearly showed the same object they found, along with the same strange symbols. Are you saying this is a weapon against aliens? Eleanor asked. Created in 1700. Yes, said Catherine. In 1742, a small group of scientists and military leaders detected signals coming from space. They realized that Earth was being watched by something non-human. Then came a brief but terrible encounter. She turned the pages of the book, showing them illustrations of strange ships and destroyed villages. History records these events as inexplicable disasters or strange weather conditions. The truth was hidden. But how could people at that time create such advanced technology? Samuel asked. Necessity, Catherine said simply. The greatest minds from around the world were secretly brought together. They pooled their knowledge and worked outside the boundaries of what was publicly known. She looked directly at Eleanor. His ancestor, John Murphy, was among them. Eleanor felt a shiver. My ancestor. Yes, the Sentinel has been moved many times over the centuries to keep it safe, always watched over by the Guardians. It was placed beneath Stonehenge almost 100 years ago. Catherine opened the wooden box, revealing old letters and a small metal disc resembling the sentry. We were hoping it would be found by the right person. Before Eleanor could ask any more questions, Catherine's phone rang. Her face became serious as she read the message. We need to leave immediately, she said, quickly packing the books in the box. The military is on its way to the excavation site. They detected the sentry's energy signature. The military knows this. Samuel asked. Some do. Not everyone is trustworthy. Catherine handed Eleanor the small metal disc. Keep this with you. It's a key that connects to the Sentinel. A key to do what? Eleanor asked. Catherine's eyes were serious. To activate the weapon if necessary. The signals we monitor have changed. After centuries of observation, they are final coming. Who's coming? Samuel asked. Those our ancestors fought in secret, said Catherine, opening the door. And this time, they're going to send more than just scouts. Catherine led Eleanor and Samuel through an exit at the back of the museum, just as several black SUVs pulled up to the front entrance. They ran to an old blue pickup truck that was in the parking lot. Come in, said Catherine. We don't have much time. They drove for almost 2 hours, leaving the city behind and heading towards the countryside. Nobody said much during the trip. Eleanor held the small metal disc in her hand, feeling a strange warmth. Where are we going? Samuel finally asked. Somewhere safe, Catherine replied. I need to get him to Sentinel before the military takes him. Why us? Eleanor asked. Why not let the government take care of it if it already knows? Catherine's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because not everyone wants to use the sentry to protect humanity. Some would use it to gain power. Others would destroy it, thinking it would be safer. She looked at Eleanor. And it won't work for everyone. It needs someone from the lineage of its creators. They turned onto a narrow dirt road that wound through thick trees. After several minutes, Catherine stopped the truck next to a small stone cabin that looked to be at least 100 years old. Quickly inside, she said. The house was simple but clean. A man with gray hair and glasses sat at a table covered in maps and papers. He stood up when they entered. You did it, he said. I'm Gregory Phillips, former NASA scientist and current custodian. He nodded at Catherine. Any problems? Military teams at the museum and excavation site, she replied. We weren't followed, but it won't take long for them to find out where we went. Gregory turned to Eleanor and Samuel. I've been monitoring signals from deep space for the Guardians for 15 years. 3 days ago, we detected several objects entering our solar system. He pointed to the prints on the table. These are not meteors or comets. They are ships, and they are heading straight for Earth. Samuel went to the table and studied the papers. How do you know these are the same beings that supposedly appeared in the 1700s? The signal patterns match exactly, Gregory said. We have been paying attention to them for centuries. He picked up an old leather diary. Contains first-hand accounts of their first meeting. 7 villages destroyed, more than 300 people captured. The government called it a series of forest fires and blamed local tribes. We need to get back to the Sentinel, said Eleanor. If what you're saying is true, we don't have much time. Gregory shook his head. Too late. Military units secured the site an hour ago. But there is another way. He rolled out a map of England with various locations marked in red. The Sentinel isn't the only device our ancestors created. There are 7 others hidden around the world. The closest is just 30 miles away. Catherine opened a laptop and turned it towards them. These are live satellite images of approaching ships. At the current speed, they see they will arrive on Earth in less than 5 days. Eleanor looked at the screen. 7 bright spots continuously moved towards the 3rd planet from the sun. Why now? She asked. If they had been watching us for centuries, why attack now? Because of that, Gregory said, pointing to news on another screen. The advancement of humanities into space has accelerated. We have bases on the Moon and Mars. We are mining asteroids. Our radio signals cover more space every year. He looked grim. We have become a potential threat to them. A loud explosion shook the house. Catherine ran to the window. Military helicopters, she said, found us faster than I expected. Gregory quickly gathered maps and diaries into a backpack. There is a tunnel under the house. This will take you to a garage with another vehicle. He handed the backpack to Samuel. Take the road north. The map will guide you to the next sentry location. And you? Iliad didn't even ask. Catherine smiled sadly. We will hold them. Give him time to escape. But Eleanor began to protest. There is no time. Gregory interrupted. You are the only one who can. Activate the sentry now. The future of humanity depends on it. Catherine pushed a bookcase aside, revealing a dark passage. Go now. And remember, the sentry doesn't destroy. He protects. That's what our ancestors built it for. Eleanor gripped the metal disc tightly as she and Samuel entered the tunnel. The sound of helicopters grew louder and louder above them. Eleanor and Samuel exited the tunnel into a small garage built into the hillside. Inside was an old Land Rover with the keys in the ignition. I hope you can drive this thing, Samuel said as they entered. Eleanor started the engine. My uncle had one on his farm. To hold on. They drove north for hours, following the map Gregory had given them. The roads became rougher as they headed into a remote area of the Scottish Highlands. The rain began to fall, making it difficult to see. According to the map, the next sentinel should be hiding in some ruins near here, Samuel said, studying the papers in Gregory's backpack. Eleanor slowed the Land Rover as they approached an ancient stone circle, similar to Stonehenge, but much smaller. No one else was around. That must be it, she said, parking behind some trees to hide the vehicle. They walked to the stone circle in the rain. Eleanor felt the small metal disc heat up in her pocket. The entrance must be hidden, Samuel said, examining the stones, just like at Stonehenge. Eleanor took out the metal disc. It was vibrating faintly now, and the strange symbols on its surface were faintly glowing blue. As she moved around the circle, the glow became stronger near one particular stone. Here, she said, help me move forward. Together they pushed the boulder. It moved slightly, revealing a narrow passage that led down into the darkness. I think we should go in, said Samuel, turning on the flashlight. The passage led to a small chamber similar to that at Stonehenge. In the center was another sentinel device, identical to the first one they found. And now? Samuel asked. Eleanor slowly approached the sentinel. The disc in his hand now glowed brightly and vibrated strongly. As she got close to the sentry, the symbols on both objects began to pulse with light. I think I need it. Eleanor brought the disc closer to the larger device. They fit together perfectly, like pieces of a puzzle. There was a flash of blue light. The sentry began to unfold, parts of it shifting and moving until it formed a complex device unlike anything they had ever seen. It's activating, Samuel whispered. A holographic display appeared above the device, showing Earth and spacecraft. The approaching aliens. I can't read these symbols, said Eleanor, looking at the strange text that appeared on the display. Samuel approached. Wait, I think I can. They are similar to what we saw in the books that Catherine showed us. He studied the screen carefully. It says that the Sentinel needs a final activation code to function properly, a specific frequency combined with a genetic key. A genetic key? Eleanor asked. Samuel nodded. That must be why Catherine said she needed someone from her creator's bloodline. He pointed to a small cutout in the device. I think you need to put your hand here. Eleanor hesitated and then placed her palm on the indicated spot. She felt a sharp pain as something stung her skin. The device buzzed louder and more symbols appeared on the display. It's working, Samuel said excitedly. It's accepting your DNA. The holographic display changed, showing the 7 alien ships more clearly now. They were unlike anything in human science fiction. Strange, angular vases that seemed to divert the light around them. Look, Samuel pointed out. The screen shows other Sentinel locations being activated around the world. Small dots of blue light appeared on the hologram of Earth. One in England, one in Scotland where they were, and others in Egypt, China, Peru, Australia, and the United States. Eleanor's phone suddenly rang, startling them both. The caller ID showed an unknown number. Hello, she replied cautiously. Dr. Murphy, said a male voice. I'm Major Daniel Rivera of the United States Space Force. We need to talk about what you just activated. How did you get that number? How do you know what we are doing? Eleanor demanded. Some of us in the military have worked with the Guardians for generations. Major Riviera responded. Not everyone wants to capture the Sentinels. Some of us understand its true purpose. Which is what? Eleanor asked. To create a planetary shield, he said. The Sentinels you have activated are connecting to form a defense network. But there is a problem. Our satellites show that 3 alien ships have broken the formation. They are speeding towards Earth, trying to get here before the shield is complete. Eleanor looked at Sangwell, fear in her eyes. How long do we have? She asked. Less than 24 hours, said Major Riviera. And the shield needs all 7 Sentinels fully operational to function. You have started the process. But there is more to do. We need your help. Within hours, a military helicopter landed near the stone circle. Major Daniel Riviera came out, followed by 2 soldiers. He was tall, had short dark hair, and wore a simple black uniform without many markings. Dr. Murphy, Dr. Wright, he said, shaking her hands. Thank you for trusting me enough to wait. We didn't have much of a choice, Eleanor said. Now tell us what's going on. They walked to the circle of stones, where the passage to the Sentinel remained open. Major Riviera looked at the glowing device with a mixture of admiration and concern. All 7 Sentinels are now active, he said, but they are not yet fully connected. The planetary shield is forming, but it has gaps. He opened a laptop and showed them a satellite view of Earth. A faint blue web spread across the planet, with 7 brighter spots where the Sentinels were located. The 3 alien ships that broke the formation will arrive at Earth in about 18 hours. Riviera continued. They will attempt to land before the shield is complete. What happens if they land? Samuel asked. According to the Guardians' records from previous encounters, they will establish land bases to disable the Sentinels. Riviera explained, they want our resources and see us as a potential future threat. Their technology is far beyond ours. Conventional weapons barely affect your ships. Eleanor looked at the sentry, so these devices are our only hope. Yes, Riviera nodded, but there's more to them than just the shield. He took out an old book from his backpack, similar to the ones Catherine showed them. Sentinels have a second function. They can disrupt the aliens' neural network. What are they? Samuel asked. They are shared consciousness, Riviera explained. The Guardians have learned from previous encounters that these aliens operate with a hive mind of sorts. Sentinel technology can disrupt this connection, making them vulnerable. Eleanor studied the book Riviera had brought. How did humans in the 1700s create such advanced technology? Riviera's expression turned serious. This is the Guardians' best-kept secret. Catherine and Gregory were not yet allowed to share it with you. He hesitated. These were not the aliens' first visits to Earth. They have been coming here for thousands of years, taking resources and studying us. A soldier ran out of the helicopter. Sir, we are receiving reports of communications outages around the world. Alien ships are jamming our signals. Riviera closed her laptop. It's starting. They're trying to isolate us, prevent global coordination. He turned to Eleanor. We need to get him to the American Sentinel. Each device needs a member of the Creator's lineage to activate its full power. But the other Sentinels? Eleanor began. Other descendants are being brought to each location. Riviera assured him. But the American Sentinel is the main control center. It needs your specific DNA sequence. Why me? Eleanor asked. What's special about my family? His ancestor, John Murphy, was not just any scientist. Riviera said. He was the lead designer of the Sentinel network. He encoded his own DNA as a master key. The ground suddenly shook beneath them. In the distance, they saw a bright flash of light on the horizon. What was that? Asked Samuel, leaning on a rock. The soldier checked his communication device. Sir, there are reports of an object entering Earth's atmosphere over the North Sea. He passed through a gap in the shield. Riviera's face paled. They arrived earlier than we expected. We need to move now. He turned to Eleanor and Samuel. A plane is waiting to take us to the United States. The American Sentinel is hidden under Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore? Samuel looked surprised. This wasn't built until the 1930s. Exactly, Riviera said. The perfect cover for something much older. The monument was built to hide and protect the Sentinel Master. As they ran to the helicopter, Eleanor looked at the Scottish Sentinel, still glowing with blue light. Will it be safe here? She asked. Teams of Guardians are moving to protect each location, Riviera said. But our best defense is to get all 7 fully operational before more ships arrive. The helicopter took off as another flash lit up the northern sky. The first alien spacecraft landed on Earth. The military plane flew through turbulent skies. The news coming in described strange weather patterns and electrical disturbances across the world. Governments told people that these were natural phenomena, but Eleanor knew better. What happens when we land? She asked Major Riviera, who was sitting across from her checking the reports on his tablet. We have a safe convoy ready, he replied. The area around Mount Rushmore was evacuated under the guise of structural concerns. Only Guardian members and trusted military personnel are allowed near the site now. Samuel looked up from the Guardian diaries he was studying. Those records mention minor versions of Sentinel technology, portable devices that can affect aliens at close range. Riviera nodded. That's our backup plan. Throughout history, Guardians have hidden smaller Sentinel devices in museums and historic sites around the world. They look like ordinary artifacts, ancient weapons, jewelry, tools, but they contain the same technology on a smaller scale. The plane shook violently. Through the window, Eleanor saw strange lights in the clouds. They're tracking us, Riviera said sternly. The aliens can detect the sentry's energy signature in his DNA now that he has been activated. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. Major, we cannot continue to our planned destination. There is some kind of energy barrier in South Dakota. Aliens have already established a perimeter around Mount Rushmore. Riviera said. His face was grim. They know where Master Sentinel is located. So what do we do now? Eleanor asked. We landed at our alternate location in Colorado. Riviera responded. The Guardians have a hidden facility in the Rocky Mountains. From there, we can coordinate with the other Sentinel sites and plan our approach. 2 hours later, they landed at a small airfield surrounded by mountains. A group of people were waiting for them. Some in military uniforms, others in civilian clothes. Welcome to the Eyrie, Riviera said as she stepped off the plane, one of the oldest Guardian facilities in North America. They were led to what appeared to be an ordinary mountain lodge from the outside. Inside, however, was a high-tech operations center built into the mountain itself. Dozens of people worked at computer stations, monitoring screens showing alien ships and a growing planetary shield. A woman approached them. Dr. Murphy, I'm Olivia Parker, head of Guardian's North American operations. We were waiting for you. She led them to a large table displaying a holographic map of Earth. Small red dots showed alien landing sites. They have landed in 7 locations so far, explained Olivia. Northern Europe, Siberia, Central Africa, Australia, Brazil, Japan, and now the United States. In each case, they targeted areas near Sentinel devices. How did they find them so easily? Samuel asked. They have been studying the Earth for centuries. Olivia replied. They likely detected the energy signatures a long time ago, but were unable to identify the exact locations until the devices were activated. Riviera pointed to Mount Rushmore on the map. The good news is that they haven't invaded the mountain chamber yet. The bad news is that we can't go in there either with their ships patrolling the area. And the other sentries? Eleanor asked. Are they fully operational? 5 of the 7 are at full power, Olivia said. The offspring at each site completed gene activation. Only American and Australian sentries remain in partial power. And we need all 7 at full strength for the shield to work properly, Riviera added. Eleanor thought for a moment. The smaller devices, Samuel mentioned, can we use them to counterattack? Olivia nodded and pressed a button. A wall panel opened, revealing a collection of objects that looked like museum pieces, ancient swords, shields, crowns, and other artifacts. They contain miniaturized Sentinel technology, she explained. They can disrupt the aliens' neural connection at close range. Our teams are already distributing them to military units around the world. Riviera picked up what looked like an old compass. Each is designed to affect your biology, but leave humans unharmed. The problem is getting close enough to use them. Eleanor looked back at the map, studying the red dots of alien landings. That surrounded the blue dots of the sentries. We need a distraction, she said. Something to divert their attention away from Mount Rushmore, long enough for us to go in and activate the Master Sentry. What kind of fun? Asked Riviera. Eleanor pointed to the other Sentinel locations. We need to make them think we are trying to increase energy in all other places simultaneously. Make them divide their forces. Olivia and Riviera exchanged glances. That could work, Olivia said, but it would put the other Sentinel teams at risk. We have no choice, said Eleanor. If we don't get the Master Sentry fully operational soon, the remaining 3 ships will break through and be completely overrun. Within hours, the diversion plan was in action. The teams of Guardians at each Sentinel location began increasing power levels, creating energy spikes that would attract the aliens' attention. Military units equipped with smaller Sentinel devices prepared to defend the sites. At the Colorado facility, Eleanor, Samuel, and Riviera monitored the situation. It's working, Olivia said, pointing to the map. Alien forces are moving away from Mount Rushmore toward other locations. Riviera nodded. This is our chance. A stealth helicopter is ready to take us to South Dakota. Before they left, Olivia handed Eleanor a small wooden box. This can help you understand what you are really fighting for. Inside the box was an old diary with the name John Murphy written on the first page. Eleanor's hands shook as she opened it. This is my ancestor's diary, she whispered. Read on the way. Riviera insisted. We need to move now. In the helicopter, Eleanor read the diary while Samuel and Riviera prepared the equipment. The more she read, the more shocked she was. Samuel, she said finally. According to this, aliens didn't just visit Earth in the 1700s. They've been coming here for thousands of years. Samuel went next to her to look at the diary. What does this say? Aliens have been studying us, taking people for experiments, and harvesting Earth's resources since ancient times. Eleanor turned another page, and every time they appeared, the humans fought back with whatever technology they had. The magazine says that many of humanity's greatest innovations were not just natural progress. They were responses to alien encounters. Samuel looked skeptical. This is hard to believe. Listen to this. Eleanor read the diary. Our group includes minds from all over the world. Franklin with his electricity, scholars from China with ancient knowledge of magnetism, African metalworkers whose techniques surpass European understanding, and Native American healers with plant compounds unknown to our science. Together, we created something that neither of us could have built alone, a defense system that uses the aliens' neural sensitivity against them. Thus, the sentries were built by combining knowledge from all over the world. Samuel said, knowledge that existed but was not widely shared or documented. Rio wrote it down. Guardians have always included people of all nations, of all cultures. The secret story of humanity is one of unity against an external threat. The voice of the helicopter pilot interrupted them. We are approaching Mount Rushmore. The diversion appears to have worked. Most of the alien ships have moved to other locations. They landed in a clearing about a mile from the famous monument. A small group of soldiers found them and led them through a hidden tunnel in the forest. This walkway was built in the early 1900s, Riviera explained as they walked. Years before the monument itself. The sentry was placed here first, and the president's faces were carved later as cover. After 20 minutes of walking, They arrived at a large metal door embedded in the rock. Riviera placed her hand on a scanner hidden behind a loose rock. "Only Guardians and certain bloodline descendants can open it," he said. The door opened, revealing a large chamber carved into the mountain. In the center was a sentinel device larger than the others Eleanor had seen. It was already partially activated, glowing with blue light. "This is the Sentinel Master," said Riviera. "He coordinates everyone else." Eleanor approached slowly. The device pulsed stronger as she got closer, as if recognizing her. "What do I do?" she asked. "Place your hand on the main panel." "As you did with the Scottish sentry," Riviera instructed. Eleanor did as he said. The device pricked his finger again, collecting samples of his DNA. The blue light grew stronger, spreading throughout the chamber. A holographic display appeared, showing Earth and the alien ships. The planetary shield was visible now, a blue web enveloping most of the planet, but with several gaps where alien ships had breached. "It's working," Sangel said. "The Sentinel Master is connecting with others." Riviera studied the screen. "The shield is getting stronger, but the ships that have already landed are still a problem. Your ground forces are attacking the other Sentinel sites." Eleanor noticed something strange about the holographic display, symbols appearing around each alien landing site. "What are these markings?" she asked. Riviera took a closer look. "The sentry is showing us something about the aliens." He studied the symbols. "They are mapping the aliens' neural network, its connections between itself and its ships." Eleanor felt the device buzzing beneath her hand. "I think you're asking me something." She looked at the strange symbols flashing before her. "He wants permission to do something." "What?" Samuel asked. Eleanor suddenly understood, knowledge flowing into her mind through her connection to the device. "She wants to activate the ultimate defense protocol," she said, "to send a signal that will disrupt her entire neural network at once." Riviera looked alarmed. This could kill them all instantly. Eleanor faced a choice that would determine the fate of two species. Eleanor looked at the holographic screen, her hand still connected to the Sentinel Master. The fate of humanity and an alien species depended on her decision. "I can't just kill them all," she said finally. "There has to be another way." Samuel moved closer to study the symbols. "Perhaps we can adjust the signal strength, not to kill them, but to disable their ships and weapons." Riviera nodded slowly. "The original Guardians built this as a defense system, not a weapon of mass destruction. There should be options." Eleanor focused on the sentry, trying to understand the information flowing through her mind. "I think I see that now. The device has different settings." She pointed to the symbols on the display. "This would permanently disrupt your entire neural network. But this," she indicated another set of symbols. "This would temporarily disable their technology and communications without killing them. This may give us a chance to communicate with them," Samuel said, "to find a peaceful solution. Or at least force them to retreat," Riviera added. Eleanor made her choice. She pressed the symbols for the non-lethal option. The Sentinel pulsed with energy and waves of blue light spread to all 7 devices around the world. The holographic display showed the effect immediately. The alien ships stopped moving. Its weapon systems have gone offline. On the ground, alien forces froze in place as their neural connection. It has been temporarily stopped. "It's working," Riviera said. "Checking reports from around the world. Your ships are disabled. Ground forces are confused and disoriented." Eleanor kept her hand on the sentry. "There is something more here. A communication system." She focused again, and a new holographic display appeared. Strange symbols that seemed to translate between human languages and the aliens' method of communication. "Can we talk to them?" Samuel asked. "I think so," Eleanor replied. "The sentry was designed to serve as a translator. Our ancestors built it not only to fight aliens, but to eventually communicate with them." Riviera looked surprised. "This is not in any of the Guardian records I have seen." "Maybe they didn't want future generations to know," Eleanor said. "Maybe they were afraid that we would try to contact the aliens before we were ready to defend ourselves." She activated the communication system. A message in alien symbols appeared on the hologram and was then translated into English. "Why do you resist? Your resources are needed. Your species is primitive." Eleanor thought carefully and then responded through her connection to the sentry. "We are not primitive. We created this defense system centuries ago. We hide our true capabilities from you. We don't want war, but we will defend our world." There was a long pause before the aliens responded. Your challenge, expected human. Your sewer price T, C, hydnoalgae. The alien ships began to rise from the Earth's surface, slowly moving back through the gaps in the planetary shield. The ground forces retreated to their ships. They're leaving, Samuel said in disbelief. For now, River warned. But they will return, probably with greater force. Eleanor nodded. That's why we need to be ready. Not just with weapons, but with knowledge. She looked at the sentry, still glowing with power. For centuries, we kept this technology hidden, even from ourselves. We forget what humanity is truly capable of. As reports came in from around the world, the truth could no longer be hidden. News about the alien ships, the Sentinels, and the Guardian Society spread quickly. Governments tried to control the information, but there were too many witnesses, too much evidence. A week later, Eleanor appeared before the United Nations, explaining what had happened and what humanity had learned about its own past. For centuries, we have hidden our greatest achievements, even from ourselves, she told the gathered leaders. The Sentinels were built by people of all cultures, of all nations, working together against a common threat. They combine knowledge that most of human history does not even record.